The day my family decided my daughter was the problem was the day I stopped being their version of me. Let me ask you something. What would you do if a 4-year-old made a mistake and the adults in the room decided to punish her, like she was the mistake? Because that's where this started, not with betrayal, with judgment. It was a normal day. That's what makes it worse. Nothing dramatic, nothing unusual, just a message asking me to pick her up early. No explanation. And if you've ever had that feeling where something is wrong, but no one says it out loud, you already know what it feels like to walk into a situation that's already been decided without you. I opened the door, and I didn't see my daughter first. I saw what was left behind. Her things weren't just messy. They were scattered with intention. Her backpack ripped open, pages torn clean through, her small world rearranged like evidence in a trial she didn't know she was in. That's when I knew. This wasn't about an accident. This was about a message. She broke my laptop. That's what I was told. No context. No explanation. Just a number attached to it. A price. Have you ever noticed how quickly people assign value to objects and reduce people to consequences? That's what this felt like. I went upstairs, and what I saw is something I'll never forget. She was sitting on the floor, not crying loudly, not hiding, trying to fix things, carefully pressing torn pages together, like if she tried hard enough, she could undo what already happened. And in that moment, everything inside me shifted. Not anger, clarity. She told me what happened. It was simple. She reached for something. Her elbow slipped. The laptop fell. That's it. That's the entire story. But the reaction? That told me everything I needed to know. Now, here's where it gets worse. Because what happened next wasn't about her anymore. It was about what they believed about me. I called my parents, because that's what you do when something doesn't make sense. You go to the people who are supposed to make it make sense. And what I got back was silence, then hesitation, then something colder, agreement. They didn't ask what happened. They didn't ask how she was. They asked what I was going to do about it. Let that sink in. A child gets screamed at, and the question becomes, how are you going to fix this? Have you ever realized you weren't being supported? You were being evaluated? That's the moment everything changes, not when someone hurts you, but when they feel justified doing it. I didn't argue, because arguing means you still believe they're open to understanding. They weren't. They had already decided who I was, and more importantly, who my daughter would become. So I stopped explaining, and I started thinking. That night, after she fell asleep, I sat in the dark, and I asked myself one question. If I let this go, what happens next? And the answer was immediate. It happens again. Maybe not the same way, but the same pattern. Different situation, same conclusion. She's the problem. And eventually, she got it from you. That was the moment I changed roles. I wasn't trying to fix relationships anymore. I was protecting someone who couldn't afford to be misunderstood. Now here's where most people expect emotion, anger, reaction, confrontation. That's not what happened. I did something much more dangerous. I became precise. I started looking at everything differently, not as a daughter, not as a sister, but as someone outside the system. And once you step outside, you start seeing things clearly. Who gets protected, who gets blamed, who gets forgiven, and why. And here's the truth. The problem wasn't that day. That day just exposed it. So I didn't react, I prepared. Because truth, without timing, gets ignored. But truth, placed at the right moment, becomes impossible to deny. I hired someone, not to find anything new, just to confirm what I already suspected. And what came back was more than enough. Affairs, financial lies. A life built on appearances, held together by things no one wanted to question, especially the people who were funding it. Now here's the twist. I didn't create a problem. I revealed one. That was already there. I organized everything, every detail, every timeline, every piece of truth that had been hidden behind convenience. And I waited, because timing matters more than truth. When I finally acted, it didn't look like revenge. It looked like information, delivered quietly, directly, without emotion. No accusations, no confrontation, just facts, placed exactly where they couldn't be ignored. And then I stepped back. What happened next wasn't something I controlled. It unfolded exactly the way truth always does, when people are forced to face it. Conversations changed, confidence disappeared. Certainty turned into doubt. The same people who judged me were suddenly trying to understand what they missed. And here's the part no one expects. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel powerful. I felt done. Because the goal was never to win. It was to stop being part of something that required me to lose. I focused on what actually mattered. My daughter, her safety, her understanding of the world. A world where mistakes don't define you, and where love doesn't come with conditions. Time passed, things settled. Consequences did what they always do, when no one interferes with them. They landed exactly where they needed to. I saw them again later, and I waited to feel something. Anger, resentment, anything. But there was nothing. And that's when I realized something. The real ending isn't when they understand what they did. It's when you no longer need them to. So no, this wasn't revenge. It wasn't even justice. It was alignment. Choosing what matters and acting like it does. Because once you do that, everything changes. Not loudly, not instantly, but permanently. And if you're in a situation right now where something feels wrong, where you keep explaining yourself, hoping someone will finally see your side, maybe this is the moment you stop. Not reacting, not arguing, just stepping back and asking a better question. What happens if I choose myself and protect what matters, no matter who disagrees? Because once you do that, you don't just change the outcome, you change the rules. And people who are comfortable judging you will finally have to face something much harder: the truth.